Rumor has it that Ben Affleck is going to the MCU, but not as Daredevil. So here we are once again at Cosmic Book News, and has this story all wrapped up with a bow. So it comes from Daniel RPK, who says Ben Affleck is in talks for the MCU. According to a Redditor, when a fan remarked Daredevil, Daniel RPK replied that it's not as Daredevil. So, of course, the immediate speculation would have been that he would have reprised his version of Daredevil for multiverse shenanigans purposes, more than likely within the Deadpool movie. You know, just for the gag of it all. And, but apparently not so. And so what could it be? Of course, my joke casting would have been for him to play Nighthawk, along with Henry Cavill as Hyperion and Gal Gadot as Power Princess from the Squadron Supreme. But that's unlikely, even though there was some rumor about Henry Cavill playing Hyperion in the Loki show. Well, that came and went, didn't happen. Although there's now a rumor that Henry Cavill will be cast as an alternate universe version of Wolverine in Deadpool. And for a movie like Deadpool, you could expect gags like that to happen, but doesn't mean that Henry Cavill would be cast as their ongoing Wolverine. More than likely, it's a one-and-done thing and all that. But anyway, now it's Ben Affleck being rumored about, and some are speculating this DC versus Marvel thing. The interesting thing about this mock-up is almost nobody in here would be a part of it. It would all be new people. Maybe David Cornsweet would be Superman. And then Marvel's got to reboot their cast. Maybe some of them will return, probably Iron Man in Secret Wars for one more little go-around as an alternate version of him and that kind of thing. And then, provided MCU can survive long enough, recast and all that. And then maybe they would. More than likely, the Avengers versus X-Men rumor is probably more akin to true. But there again, you might want to wait on that, where you've reestablished your characters so that they have some significance for your movie audience, so that it comes across as, oh wow, what a spectacular thing for them to battle one another and set up that narrative the way the original MCU did. So anyway, so who could he be playing if not Daredevil and all of that? So here they have the wild fan theory that he does show up as Batman. I really don't think we can, hey, it's just a joke, guys, come on. But it would be funny if they made him Nighthawk, because that's who Nighthawk is. It's just a knockoff of Batman. But and it says here that Gunn had pitched an idea of a DC versus Marvel, but oh man, the shenanigans you'd have to go to make that happen seems highly unlikely. But anyway, McGloin puts shade on the idea because he doesn't think Affleck gets along with Gunn. Well, Gunn had said that they wanted Affleck to direct, and Affleck wants to direct, and all this stuff, insinuating that he was going to direct one of the DCU movies. Then Affleck responded, "No, I have no interest in the DCU or that sort of thing." I don't know if this is an exact quote. I guess I can click it and read it. But anyway, something along that nature. He did wish them well, but that's the professional thing to do. But I think it had a lot to do with him being jerked around yet again for the scenes he shot in The Flash, for a continuation of his Batman that all ended up cut out. And he said, oh, this again. So, that's it. So anyway, Affleck's gotten effed over multiple times by DC. So another theory is, could he be cast as Norman Osborn for a Dark Avengers story? And there's signs of Dark Avengers being something that they would like to pursue for the films, with Thunderbolts and everything. Even though it won't be the original Thunderbolts, and they're just going to jump ahead to where they're basically a ripoff of Suicide Squad. Now, Dark Avengers was cool. That's probably the last cool thing Brian Michael Bendis wrote when he had that setup of those guys led by Norman Osborn. And it was a cool run, and then it ended in the Century. He died at the end and all that. It's a good run. But again, none of these characters have been set up, most notably Norman Osborn. The only Norman Osborn that they've had was from the Sony films that they brought in for the No Way Home film. They haven't established a Norman Osborn. Now, perhaps the next Spider-Man movie would establish a Norman Osborn, but is there enough time for him to be the significant enough character to be the guy who becomes Iron Patriot and all that, even though they've already introduced this armor for James Rhodes to be. So they kind of ahead of themselves, messed around. There's a certain setup and backstory that has to be established for this to have occurred. And, of course, they wouldn't be able to do it in its entirety with his Green Goblin career and then dying and then coming back and all that. They wouldn't be able to do all that. But at the very least, you would need some setup there. And you could establish that there was some corporate jealousy between Osborn and Stark, or at least Osborn for Stark and whatnot. That kind of thing. But primarily, he's a Spider-Man villain. And but at this rate, with this amount of Spider-Man films under the belt of Tom Holland, I imagine the next one will be his last outing at it, you know. So, it's possible. So then finally, Doctor Doom, and this one I think is probably more likely, if that's what they're offering him, that he might, and that Cavill was rumored for it as well, but I think the Wolverine rumor is probably more likely, and this might be something Affleck would jump on, provided they do it right. But then again, don't be surprised when you get jerked around again with this sort of thing. But this would be an interesting challenge to take on, despite the fact of what they're doing to the Fantastic Four. And one would have thought they would have gender swapped Doom as well. But maybe not. And so of the options here, I think Doom is probably the most likely. If anything, unless it is just some silly cameo he does or what have you. So maybe so. Or none of the above, and it's probably next to nothing. And besides, the rumor is there are talks. He could say no. So anyway, there you go. Perhaps Dr. Doom, maybe Norman Osborn, but not Daredevil, or which would be the most obvious thing just for the sight gag and Deadpool. You know, seems like he'd, yeah, I'll show up, do a couple of minutes of work. And but no, the Batman post-credit scene. I mean, I can get the joke of it, but I don't know that Warner Brothers would be all right with it and let him do it. But hey, do Nighthawk, just do it. All three of them could be in that, But I guess not. So odds are, if any of this is true, then maybe it's Dr. Doom. Maybe it's Dr. Doom. So there you go. Dr. Doom.